Hey guys, this is Cam315 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another Komi Can't Communicate episode review for you guys. And surprisingly, this episode review is getting up a lot sooner rather than later. Just from the standpoint, currently at my job, I'm kind of switching positions, so I kind of technically have more. Well, I still kind of work semis most of the week, but I kind of have more free days, and definitely a better schedule that's more beneficial to me when it comes to recording my videos and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought I was off. So I was pretty much off for today because I'm actually going to the AEW wrestling event out here in California. Because they were on their tour for the California trip. So I'm going to be going later today, which means there will be no Dragon Quest review. If you're any of my Dragon Quest fans, there won't be a Dragon Quest review because of it. So yeah, but that's the whole thing. But we're talking about Komi Can't Communicate. And this episode this week was really freaking good. I just enjoyed this episode a lot. Again, it's a continuation of the Kyoto trip, which ends this episode. But I definitely did like the moments we got here. And this episode focused on Komi and the two girls that she was in a group with to travel to Kyoto. And I think their names were Katoi and Sasaki. It's so similar to Sakasaki, the Chunubyo girl, and Katai. But it's slight differences in their names and stuff like that. But I really did like this episode just from the standpoint, the teacher pretty much says, well, you guys are off on your own. It's your free day, so do whatever you want in your groups and stuff like that. Just make sure you meet up and everything. And you just saw it to where, these characters literally just hung out and had a good time and had good fun. I found it pretty crazy, or pretty funny. Well, I wouldn't say crazy, but funny at the fact that, these girls were just in marvel the presence of Komi, but they did open up to her and they weren't afraid to show themselves out to her and everything. And like how Katoi, she had a whole planned day list to do and stuff like that, and they did everything on the list. They legitimately went off and Komi Can't Communicate has been notorious for doing a bunch of freaking freaking rip-offs of very popular brands in real life. This week it was kind of a combination of, it was more Universal Studios, but they had one little element. They had a freaking rip off of Spider-Man in this episode, because you can literally tell in this ride they were riding, you see Spider-Man's feet and the webbing and everything. And I'm yeah, that's Spider-Man. I don't think they make an internal reference to it, but they pretty much went to a freaking rip off Universal Studios and everything. And you could tell it was Universal Studios because they have, in one of the pictures, they took a picture by the words of the park and then the Earth, which is synonymous with Universal Studios, the theme park and stuff like that. I haven't been there in such a long time, mostly because it's super expensive to go there. What am I talking about? It's expensive to go to any theme park in the world. Not fun, and stuff like that. But that's the whole thing there. You saw it, they went on the Jaws ride, and looked like it was a great thing and everything. And then you get to this one part of the episode where it looked like Katoi and Sasaki were going to start fighting because they're arguing of the whole standpoint of, we almost missed our next destination because you were eating your freaking takoyaki and everything. And it was kind of the whole thing of these two arguing, and it got very tense in the room or on the train, and Komi obviously broke it all up. And the one thing I did like is how Komi was very open, talking to them, not talking to them by her mouth and everything, her words, just writing down things. She at first she was afraid, but then she ended up getting a lot more comfortable around the two. And I think it was just this episode of being very comfortable. But mind you, the funniest part of this freaking episode was when Komi was kind of wearing a geisha outfit And everybody just around the area was like, "Oh my goodness, she's so beautiful." Then these ninjas come out of nowhere. Now it's all an act. It was like all an attraction and everything, and stuff like that. And this girl, Sasaki, legitimately freaking thought like this shit was real. Like she was about to get abducted by these ninjas, and she was like, "I got to do something." And she looks in her pockets. She's like, "I don't know if I can use it." I'm like, "What the hell's in her pockets?" I'm like, "What?" She ends up grabbing one of those freaking masks. If you watch One Piece, she wore the mask that Yamato wore when she was first introduced into the series, and stuff like that. I forgot what that type of mask was called, but she literally comes up to these freaking ninjas and literally scares them off by just doing these yo-yo tricks. And it was like all these different yo-yo tricks, and that's like her like thing. She loves yo-yo trick. She loves to do yo-yos because you have the whole bedroom scene. When they're in the room, in their hotel room, you know, they're trying to get you had the Katoi try to get it out of Sasaki, like, "You did this," and they could easily tell it was her. You could tell it was her anyways because she had her school outfit on, and she tried to deny it as best she can. And the funny thing is, when she did come back after that incident, she was still wearing the glove, so they could easily tell it was her. Which the freaking hotel scene was when they're trying to, you know, talk it all down and everything. It was hilarious where she was trying to figure out, and eventually she ends up confessing like, "Yes, I have a thing for yo-yos and stuff like that." And then she ended up doing a yo-yo like trick show at the end. But just to go on before I end off the review, the one thing about the yo-yo trick that actually reminded me a lot, which again I thought it was hilarious how she was doing all these different tricks and stuff like that. I don't know why she would be afraid of it, but I thought it was funny. So that's kind of her kink and everything there. And then we do find out like the other girl's kink, Katoi's kink is like playing, I forgot the board game that one check, like similar to chess/checkers game is. Like she's not able to play her that. But you know, speaking of the yo-yo thing, just to go off on a little quick tangent, I remember when I was like in elementary school, there was always be like at some part this like freaking yo-yo like festival or something where they would have legitimate like yo-yo instructor come by, or show dude come by and just like show him tricks and techniques of all these different yo-yos and stuff like that. I forgot what brand it was, but it was like these yo-yos, and I remember having them and everything. And there was like 3 different like yo-yos. Like you had the first yo-yo that was kind of like for beginners, which, you know, most of the little kids like who were first graders and second graders would do it. And then you had like this one yo-yo that would be kind of advanced for advanced users, but it kind of just still as a beginner. And the cool thing about that one was, you know, you would hold it, you would, you know, throw it down, and it would actually continue to still roll and everything. And you would just hold on to it till it's done rolling, and then it'll come back up to you. I forgot what the last one was, but it was like for the immediate. It was for like the intermediate people, the people that were really good at doing all the tricks and stuff with the yo-yos. It just watching this episode alone with the yo-yos, it did remind me of those times when I was a kid, when I would end up buying one of those yo-yos from whatever that was happening at my school. I sucked at using yo-yos and stuff like that. I don't know how to do all the crazy tricks and stuff like that, even though I tried to replicate that, but it was a lot harder than it looked. But I remember, you know, those were the big things, and everybody at recess would have those things messing around with them. You know, the one thing I was really good at was doing the walking the dog thing. If you don't know how that trick is, pretty much throwing your yo-yo down and just letting it roll on the ground, and you just walk with it. That was probably like the one trick I knew how to do like really damn good after a while. But man, those were fun times, man. Those were fun times. See, those are memories that will last you a lifetime, especially if you're like a young kid and stuff like that. So it's crazy. But then we get the last bit of the episode where, you know, before they all go to sleep because it's lights out, they actually like, you know, let's talk about who we all like, what crushes we got. Now we find out that Sasaki she doesn't like anybody, but we find out that Katoi, she actually is catching feelings from Katai. For some reason, she likes the way he stares and everything. I'm like, oh, very interesting. So I don't know if that's going to be a relationship, you know, that's going to be developing, because we see at the moment at the end of the episode, she'll get into it anyways. And then, you know, the girls ask Komi, they're like, wait, who do you like? They're like, wait, it's got to be Tadano. You're always around him and everything. You guys you definitely got to like him. But, you know, at first Komi's like, wait, what do you mean by like? And they're like, well, you know, when your heart is like beating so fast, and then you can't think of something to say. That's when Komi's like, oh, I know what you're talking about, and stuff like that. And she puts an H up, which specifies, I believe, just a he. It's a he. I don't know if they, I don't know, and I don't know if they were, that was the whole thing, and stuff like that. So they knew, and they're like, yeah. And then you get the last bit of the episode as they're leaving, they're going on the train to go back home. You had this funny scene where they're just enjoying all the moments they had and everything. And this girl, Sasaki, is like the ultimate wingman or wing girl. She literally is like, hey, we're gonna set you up with Tadano. And it was funny because they go over to Tadano, they're like, you're gonna sit with, they like, Komi's in trouble and everything, you need to go help her and stuff like that. So Tadano gets up and everything, and the funny thing is she turns it in, she's just like, okay, you're sitting next to Katai, girl. And then it's like when Tadano walks in, she ends up sleeping, she's sleeping at the time and everything. And then he's like, oh, and he looks back. Sasaki is like, you better fucking go sit with her right now. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like, is she some sort of setup girl where she like, she's some sort of masochist person? I don't know. But you get this a very cute, adorable moment, and I knew it was coming, where you have freaking Komi, who's obviously sleeping. She leans over and sleeps on top of Tadano's shoulder. Again, if you've ever been in a train ride, a plane ride, or a car ride, typically you sometimes doze off and you actually do end up sleeping on somebody's shoulder. Personally, I hated when it was always my brother that did that, because it got annoying and stuff like that, because it felt like I had extra weight. But it was a very cute, adorable scene. Again, further building their little relationship, again showing that these two are truly meant to be. And these girls already know, like, oh no, these two, they like each other, or they're the first two girls to realize that Komi is in love with Tadano and she likes him, which I think is nice for a change of pace. Now we have some characters that aren't like so drooly heavy in Komi, and they actually care about her best interest and who she likes and everything. I definitely did like that approach. It isn't where these characters, they have their own individual like type of kinks and everything, but they're not overbearing like we see other characters tend to be and everything. And you have it to where, I love the scene where Komi, ends up getting flustered and everything. She's like, wait, how long did I sleep on your shoulder? And he's like, oh, you only slept on it for about 2 to 3 minutes. But even then, she was still embarrassed and everything. It was a cute scene. Komi shows Tadano like what they did over the trip. And again, it goes to show you that, Komi had a much better experience this go around than she did back in middle school and everything. Again, this show is really great. It's really wonderful. And man, I just enjoy it. Just watching these, really enjoy watching these shows and stuff like that. So it was some great stuff. Loved this episode of Komi Can't Communicate. Can't wait for more. The season is winding down. I think there's 12 episodes in this season. So we're at episode 10. So we only got, I think, 2 more episodes. If not, if we have 13 episodes, then we got 3 more episodes, and then we're done with season 2 of Komi Can't Communicate. But this has been a really solid season altogether, and I enjoyed this episode. I know I said last week was my favorite episode. Honestly, this week might have been my favorite episode of Komi Can't Communicate. So I definitely can't wait to see where this is gonna be headed next. So yeah, anyways, guys, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, or not to the deal. Until then, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Maybe again, hit that subscribe button. If you like the content I'm giving on the channel, and when you do hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell icon so you're up to date whatever I upload to the channel. Anyways, guys, let me get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, or not in this video. Until then, guys, hopefully you guys are staying safe out there. See you guys in the next video. Peace.